I don't know about you, I just don't want to spend $800 on a pot. Rustic planters and vases are everywhere right now. Pottery Barn, West Elm, Rejuvenation, Crate and Barrel. Pretty much every designer is using them in their designs. But they can cost anywhere from $300 to $800, and I just didn't want to spend that much. So today, I'm gonna be figuring out how to make my own on a budget. Okay, so here are the plain pots that I'm gonna be transforming. I got this guy from Target. I think it was like 30 bucks, and it's plastic, but we're gonna make it look like real pottery. Like a rustic whitewashed terracotta. This might be the ugliest thing I've ever seen. It was $4.99 from the thrift store. This one I'm also going to make a whitewashed rustic look. Kind of like this one, but white. Oh, pro tip, by the way, these are real eucalyptus. I got them for like $4 at Trader Joe's. This one, I really liked the shape, but I hate the blue and it's all scuffed up. But it was on sale at TJ Maxx Home Goods for $22. So we're just gonna fix this baby up. I think I'm gonna make this one like a black rustic terracotta look. First thing we're gonna do is you have to spray it with primer or else nothing's gonna stick. But unfortunately, before we spray it with the primer, we have to wash it. I'm actually just not, because that sounds like too much work. Okay, the next step, adding texture. I'm using joint compound to give it that rustic handmade pottery look. You don't need a lot, just kind of a thin layer to make it look like it's hand spun pottery. I've used Drydex spackle before and even tried mixing baking soda into the paint, and they both work, but I would say joint compound is my favorite just because it's much smoother and kind of easier to work with. It does, however, take a little bit longer than Drydex to dry. And also, quick tip, I learned this the hard way. If you're not using the whole tub, just put some saran wrap or plastic wrap over the top and push it down in there to keep it from drying out. I also like to use my hands to apply it because, again, it's going for that like hand spun pottery look and it kind of gives you way more control. Keep in mind that joint compound cannot go down your sink. It'll harden and mess up your pipes. So I always wear gloves, and then whatever you touch, rags, brushes, all of it, just plan on throwing that away after. Right now, I'm smoothing the joint compound lightly to create horizontal lines like it was spun by hand on a pottery wheel. You don't want it to be perfect, and a little imperfection adds some character. So don't stress too much if you make any mistakes. I am not really a crafty person. So if I can do this, literally anyone can do this. I'm not a person that can color in between the lines. I'm kind of sloppy and impatient. So like I said, if I can do this, you can do this.
You got this.
So now I'm gonna add some texture to that clear glass vase, the tall, ugly gold vase, and the big blue floor vase from Home Goods as well. For these, I want the texture to be way more minimal, just a really subtle hand-thrown pottery feel. So I'm still using joint compound the same as before, but I'm barely using any this time, just more of a thin layer, just enough to really give it a little bit of movement without covering everything up. I'm kind of just brushing it on really lightly with my fingers and smoothing it out in a very thin layer. And honestly, the less perfect it looks, the better. It ends up feeling more like it's really handmade and it's real vintage pottery. Once you have the texture you like on there and the way it looks, let it dry. It doesn't take that long, maybe a couple of hours if you leave it outside in the sun. Now comes the fun part, painting. Here's my inspiration of that color I'm going for. I'm starting out with a whitewash base by adding water to my paint mix. Mixing colors here is not an exact science. I'm combining different beiges, a little burnt umber, and even a touch of Tuscan red to cancel out any yellowness. I'll link all the colors below in case you need to order them so that you kind of just have a good place to start, knowing if you order these colors, you'll be able to kind of make the color you're going for. If it's too dark, I lighten it up with some white. If it's too warm, I cool it down with a tiny bit of black. Once the color looks good, I thin it out with water to make a wash. Then I brush it all over the pot, letting some of the white primer underneath still show through. or also the joint compound can still show through. Texture tip, if you want even more texture in your paint, you can add a little baking soda to it to give it more of a gritty, rustic finish. Also looks super awesome. After the first layer dries, I go over it with a brighter whitewash to soften everything. I'm not trying to be perfect, brushing lightly, letting some areas be darker than others for that authentic aged look. Okay, so I've tried every paintbrush and sponges, and I found that a wet paper towel, when you just dab on all the colors, is the best tool, and it looks the most authentic. Like maybe there's, been some dirt, or that pot's actually been sitting out in the sun for a long time and getting dirty, and a truly actually aged pot. If you mess up, no big deal. You can always add more paint, water it down, or even use a wet paper towel to kind of blend in your mistakes. So if you don't like a certain area, you just add more white or add more color and just keep on going until you get it the perfect look you're going for. Once everything looks good, let it dry. I usually kind of go back after it's dry, and I might see some other spots and maybe add some more and then let it dry again. But it's just kind of a trial and error process, and you'll eventually just get the perfect pot. Let this part dry for 24 hours and then just spray a matte clear spray paint coat over the top to seal it all in. Again, you want to go for matte and not glossy. I didn't show you me actually spraying on the clear matte. I will link in the description which one I use if you're interested in getting it as well. And that's it. DIY rustic pots that look high-end without spending $300 to $800. Here are the final results. And that's it. I turned a plain, inexpensive pot into something that looks super high-end without spending $800. And honestly, I think they turned out even better than the ones I was looking to buy. So if you like this DIY, make sure to stick around. I have a few more transformational ones coming up. I'll link my next one on the screen here. And let me know in the comments, have you done this before? Is there any hacks that I should know about to make my next project better, my next vase or pot that I'm gonna transform? Let me know. See you later.